Good morning, everyone. Call to order our meeting for December 11th.
Commissioner Stottlemyre.
Present.
Vice Chair Harris.
Present.
Chair Waymeyer.
Present.
Commissioner Dunn.
Present.
Commissioner Dickinson.
And we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Correspondence today. We have our newest judge in the room. I think he came to say hi. Come on up if you'd like.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I believe it's a good thing. We're a little slow at the court this week. I always count that as a good thing. So I was talking to Mr. Brown. He mentioned I should come by and introduce myself. Allow you guys the opportunity. I've met a couple of you. Allow you the opportunity to put a face to the name. My family and I have been settling into the county, into Ottawa, enjoying it. And so I think it's just a great time, and we're really appreciative of the welcomeness of the community. If you see me pushing around 4 kids that all look too small and I look like I'm struggling, wave and say hi. I need the encouragement, please. But I would really like to say we're really enjoying our time here, Franklin County, settling in. Everybody's been great, and I've been blessed with a panel of competent attorneys, including our wonderful county attorney, defense counsel, as well as our civil practicing attorneys that made this job very easy to settle into. So I look forward to the opportunity to get to know all of you and get embedded in the community more.
What's your background? Where are you from?
Topeka.
Okay.
So I graduated law school in 21, did some civil practice, opened a criminal defense firm, practiced around the state doing mid to high level felony cases before this position came open. So it's been a great transition to not having clients anymore and just
And not going all around the state.
not going all over the state. Too many kids now. I like to get home. My main priority is them. And so this is a great balance for me. I feel like I'm still making an impact, but getting to see them grow and learn and help my wife because, she does way too much for me. And so I'm glad to be able to offer a hand when I can.
On the committee, we selected Mr. Braun to fill in Mr. Kimball's position, and he really stood out. Certainly got the sense that he's what we want, a younger person whose trajectory is very, very high, going to go, get the sense you're going to go high places. Maybe you'll be on the Supreme Court someday. Remember us there on the state, but we'll be fortunate to spend some time with you as you grow in your career, and glad you're here. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, my door is always open. If anybody has any comments or feedback for me, as much as I can ethically take, I will. I always like to know how the community feels I'm doing, because that's who I serve. So if somebody has any comments for me, let me know. All right.
We haven't heard anything about you, which means that's probably a good thing because we probably hear bad things,
Yeah.
You're doing a good job. You never hear it, but good job.
Judges who do popular things are very, very good at what they do, right?
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I won't take up too much of your guys' time. I know you have a lot on your plate. I appreciate you taking the time to let me introduce myself. It was good.
Thanks for
Hopefully I get a chance to meet all of you one-on-one basis.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming in and taking your time
Thank
to
you.
say hi.
Have a good one.
Thanks. No public comment. Our consent agenda includes meeting minutes from November 27th, study session minutes from December 9th, claim vouchers in the amount of $232,590.21. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Commissioner Stottlemyre.
Yes.
Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson.
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer.
Yes. Our first item of business is consider the annual law enforcement contract with the city of Pomona for the year 2025. Morning. Howdy.
Just as a reminder that this contract is, as you've said, an annual contract. We provide so many hours of law enforcement services a week by contract with the city of Pomona. The reason for that is that we cannot enforce any city ordinances as just a sheriff's office. We have to be in a contract with them to be able to enforce those. So we can still enforce state statutes within the city limits, but cannot enforce any of their city ordinances without the contract. This contract did have a fairly significant increase this year. That was a topic of conversation when I met with the city council at their monthly meeting earlier this month. And but this contract would be for $85,296. It's payable in four quarterly payments. That amount comes from our HR, and it pays for benefits and salary for one deputy. The way that they get that is they average out the amount of what it would be for anyone that could be working that assignment. This is the same amount that that is provided for the school districts where we have those same contracts where they're paying for salary and benefits for one. So, so we are consistent across the board. And then on the very back of this contract, you will see what we call Exhibit A, and it has a list of all of our certified staff who could be working that assignment, and I update that periodically throughout the year as we have changes. And again, these are just things just to meet the statutory requirements. So
The contract allows them to enforce the ordinances, but the amount they're paying for is patrol work above and beyond what you would normally be in Pomona for.
that is correct.
So
That's correct.
Clear. All right. Any questions for Jeff? There a motion to approve the 2025 contract as presented?
Motion approved. Second.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes, thank you. Second item of business is rezoning application. Morning, Pat.
So our first rezoning is going to be commonly known as the 2225 Colorado Road. It's located about 5 miles north of Pomona. The applicant would like to transition the 58-acre tract from the A1 district to the A2 district, creating 2 new tracts, one being about 30 acres, the other being 28. Both lots are exempt from proof of water. There was no real in-depth conversation on this rezoning from the Planning Commission meeting. Staff and Planning Commission both recommend approval.
Right. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve rezoning application 2410-0022?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes. Third item is also a rezoning application. Go ahead.
Okay, this is commonly known as, we'll start with 1347 Kentucky, 1351 Kentucky, and then a little bit of 2300 Finney Terrace. It's located about 1.5 miles straight west of Princeton. So this rezoning actually happened in multiple steps. We had 3 tracks to begin with. We're going to continue having 3 tracks to end with. On the west side, we had a 100-acre tract that we've reduced to about 20 acres through a boundary line adjustment. And then the middle tract, which was roughly over 270 acres, will then carry the extra added acreage from the 100 acres that is left. Then on the eastern side, we've taken a 3-acre tract and we've added about 27 acres to that to expand it to the A2 district. So we've gone from A1 on the west side to A2 and R3A on the east side to A2. The larger tract in the middle will continue being A1 and primarily for farming. Both the smaller tracts on the east and west already have a home. So we have all the utilities necessary. There are no utilities on the middle tract as it is going to be continued for strictly farming at this time. We did have to have an exemption to policy on the eastern tract from the ratio of 4:1 and the minimal frontage of the road. As you can see, there's a curve, and so we're already in non-compliance in the first place, but there's nothing that we can do about it as it was already existing, and we're just going to accept it as is and give them the property that they were requesting. Discussion largely agreed with the applicant's request, and both staff and planning commission recommend approval for the overall rezoning.
A little parcel to begin with, and it will remain one. A lot of flood ground and not much frontage.
Right.
Probably the most logical thing you can do with it. So.
Yeah.
Any questions for Pat?
That access off of John Brown Road.
That long strip, at some point, I guess that was agreed upon for as, like you would call it, easement, but because I suppose that was done way back whenever it was done. I don't know when that was actually split off like that, but they did want to have a strip to be able to gain access to the fields to the north.
Is that wide enough to eventually be?
I believe it's
county road?
20 acres, or 20 feet width. I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know if there's a true drive through there. I don't think there is. I think they're accessing it from other points at this point.
All right. Is there a motion to approve rezoning application 2407-0014?
Motion to approve.
All right. Thank you, Roy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ian?
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Sotomayor?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes, thank you. Fourth item of business is acceptance of the dedication for the final plat of 7 Cedars Estates, southwest of town.
Yes, this would be commonly known as 2019 Jackson Road. It's about 3.5 miles southwest of Ottawa, right off of 50 and Jackson. This property has already been rezoned, however, it has already been split into 2 properties, or they are attempting to split it into the 2 similarly sized properties. We have Rural Water 4 that is distributing water to both properties, and entrances have been approved through the Public Works. We have the distances necessary for new entrances off of 50. Staff and Planning Commission both recommend approval of this plat.
Is there a motion to accept the plat? Presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Sotomayor?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes. Fifth item of business is acceptance of dedication for the final plat of C.E. Atchison plat, north of town.
This is right at the Woodson County line, 2668 Woodson Road, 6 miles north of Ottawa. This property has already been previously rezoned. The parent tract has been split in the past and is why we're doing the subdivision in the first place as we are right now. Water will be provided by Rural Water 5, and there's plenty of room for a new entrance as they're going to build on that property.
Right. Is there a motion to accept the dedication of right-of-way and easements and authorize the chairman to endorse the Atchison plat as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Sotomayor?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes, thank you. All right, Tom, sixth item of business is to approve the resolution adopting the Kansas Region J Hazard Mitigation Plan. Good morning.
Good morning. So what this is we went through a process of renewing our hazard mitigation plan. This is a plan that the county's been a part of for 15 years. This plan gives us the ability to apply for hazard mitigation funds. Right now, our project has been approved but not funded to upgrade our activation system for our storm sirens and whatnot. It's a 75-25 match. So what this does is this plan just shows what our what we're trying to do in the county and whatnot. And I think the next round that I'd like to do is work on signage for floods. And I know Jeff and I have talked about that, and also trying to replace the generator out at Centropolis at the sewer pond, or at the sewer lift station. So this is just, we've been kind of going through this whole process and whatnot. So what you guys want to think, or what you guys' questions on?
Questions for Tom?
It's light reading. It's about 300 pages.
Uh-huh.
If you're tired at night and you're looking for something to put you to sleep, definitely do that.
All right. Well, that was attached to the agenda. We all had a chance to review it. So is there a motion to adopt the attached resolution adopting the Kansas Region J hazard mitigation plan for Franklin County?
Motion approved. Second.
Commissioner Dunn? Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Sotomayor?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes. All right. Thank you. On to staff reports.
Yeah, a couple things. FCDC's annual gathering is today over at 290 at noon, correct? 11:30. Old 50 celebration tomorrow. Crestview notice should be published in the Herald today. Website should be active as we speak. That will be updated periodically. And then ransom board, we did receive a couple of more applications, so it will probably be next week. I want to give the candidates ample time to show up. And because I think you're going to have some options, so we're looking at next week for that. And then we'll need an executive session. That's all I've got.
Hit Old 50 is tomorrow?
Tomorrow, too.
Tomorrow at 2.
2. Oh, that's right, Thursday. Nice. Yeah. All right, Paul? No? Anything else, Tom?
Good stuff. I've been in planning mode for the last couple months, radio programming and then planning mode. Today, we'll get our concurrent signatures done to turn in the emergency operations plan. I've been working on that sucker. That's been my light nights and weekends project. But we'll be able to turn that in so the state can grade it. They got a standard of 32 pages of standards to grade against our plan, and hopefully we'll be getting that approved and get back to you guys so you guys get our emergency operations plan approved, which is what we're required to have by state statute. So hopefully we'll get that turned in today and be moving forward on that.
All right. Oh, very good, thanks. Sheriff?
As you guys know, we recently had a couple retirements. Steve Lunger retired and Tony Schmidt, our office manager, retired. So we do have some restructuring going on. And through all this, Vicki Eckerd has announced that she will be retiring. And so her last day with the county will be December 31st. She is asked to not have a reception, but she has been around the county in various positions for many years, and she has been a very valued asset for our office, and I think she has been for the county as well. And so I wanted you guys to know that she is going to be retiring. So if you want to drop by and wish her well, then you can do that. But we will not have a reception to be able to do that for her. But she will be greatly missed. It also brings some good challenges for our new office manager because we are having to go through hiring processes right away. And so she has boards going. She had a board interviews yesterday and then some more tomorrow to see if we can't get positions filled. Anyway, that's all the updates for us. I would just ask, please be patient if you're trying to get something done over there with our front office because we're operating pretty thin right now. So.
We could send flowers there, right? Could we?
Yep, you would be fine to do that. So that's all I have for you guys unless you have questions for me.
I have a question for you. The city is considering an ordinance about camping and storage of personal property in public space and right-of-ways. What, if they put that in effect in the city, what does that do when everybody moves outside to the county?
I tend to believe that that's the intended effect, is to get them outside of the city. It does not really solve the problem,
just
but
moves the
it does
problem.
move, does move the problem. That's correct. And that is homelessness is an issue that we do have in our county. Some of it, most of what is seen is in the city of Ottawa, but it exists in other communities in our county as well as out in the county, especially along the trails. And if the city puts something like that in, I would expect that we'll probably see more of it on the county side of that line. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Dustin, yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Really, what I wanted to talk about briefly is the countywide software project and kind of where we are and a change order that we're looking at executing, and that to kind of start wrapping up the last pieces of it. Really what we've got currently is that parcel search page that a lot of our title companies, insurers have used to look things up. It helps keep traffic flow and calls managed for Jamie's office. The public access site is what this change order is, and we're needing some modifications to that to continue to meet the needs that Jamie has for that workflow. The estimate on that came in a little higher than we initially expected. When we talked about this at the beginning of the project, we were looking at 40 hours and about $4,600. It's came in after a more detailed conversation at 93 hours of work and about $11,000. So on the good side of this is we are well under budget of the project. We're currently sitting at just over $51,000 remaining in what you guys allocated to this project, with expectations of a $5,200 potential invoice on a project in the ERP side of this, and a little over $7,000 left on the Assessment and Tax Pro project. So altogether leaves us about $38,000, $39,000 under budget, and we'd like to execute this change order for a little more than $11,000 to finish up these needs. And I wanted to kind of gauge where the board would be on doing this change order in this project.
I think we kind of knew when we did all the changing of all this, that we might find extra things that we might help us, or we might have things that we don't need. So we kind of knew it was going to be a.
Throughout, we did cut a few things. We cut some things in the EPL project with Pat on what ended up being his needs when we got into it more. We cut some in the financial side as well. We added in what wasn't available at the time for applicant tracking, which has really helped out HR in their processes. So we've done this process a few times already. We're just getting really to the tail end of this with only a couple pieces left to finish up. And really, this was kind of here's where we are from a budget perspective and what we're still needing to do type conversation. I wanted to kind of feel where the board was on making a change like this late in the game.
Just to understand exactly what they're doing, our parcel search page, which is very popular. I mean, honestly,
I use it all the time.
they use, everybody does, I think, that wants to do something in the county. But that's a third party, and this company is stitching it together basically with the software that we're using so that they work together. And
So right now, the existing parcel search page is owned by our current provider, Aumentum. And since we're moving off of their products, getting that tax data and everything back
gotcha.
in wouldn't work very well at all. The public access page with Tyler Technologies integrates with all the softwares that we put in, so all that data continues to flow.
Okay.
It's just a new version of that page hosted by Tyler
It'll be
Technologies rather than
awesome.
Aumentum.
All right.
Given the popularity amongst the public, we're reluctant to not.
Yeah, we want it to work well. It's a valued tool for a lot of folks, so.
Absolutely.
Given that we're already under budget, and frankly, and this will come in 25, we'll give, once this project is fully completed, we'll give what I would call a grand overview of how the project went. I mean, that's to come. This is really kind of those finishing touches. I think you might have a decision or two to make yet on some of the finance stuff, but once we get there, yeah, but yes, I would highly recommend this. We're still under budget, but wanted feedback from the five of you.
It's within your authority to spend? So we don't need to vote on it?
Well, it's just over, but because you've already approved the entire
overall
budget,
budget.
we're good.
And we're still working within
Yeah.
that?
Since it is a change, I just don't want to do that without talking to you guys about it first. I'm comfortable with what's already been approved budget-wise and
Okay.
what we're doing.
Any other questions, thoughts? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Just a few things. After the study session that we had Monday, I reached out to Cook Flat, and Gene and Lonnie did respond with some numbers for both of those projects that we talked about. The first one was the shouldering erosion on Colorado Road south of Pomona, and the estimated engineering fees came in at $47,000.
20 or 40?
40.
40.
47. With the work that Justin had done with the estimate on the work, on that project itself coming in at about $190,000. I had the grand total. If you chose to do that, it would be $238,406.01 is what we estimate. And again, these are just kind of pie in the sky numbers. There's not real accurate. The second project that we discussed was the 1.5 miles Idaho there at Homewood tying into the I-35 interchange. The engineering fees on this came in a little high. They were at $86,000. As I discussed earlier, most of that work has already been done, so I think that number would be high for what we need to do. It's really about improving drainage, changing slopes, making the right-of-ways 4-to-1. But most of the hard labor has already been completed in the road surface. And that was with a 6-inch asphalt overlay is what we discussed. The grand total on that one, when you figure out my estimate, it'd be about $170,000.
170 with 6-inch asphalt?
No, I'm sorry, without the asphalt,
Oh,
just the work. So then if you'd add the 6 inches of asphalt, that would be in addition to
okay.
for what we've done, yes. I don't have that number, it would be without the asphalt. That would just be the cost of the project with a local contractor doing the laydown. I look forward to working with Paul and Derek on those things and seeing if we can move forward. I also spoke briefly with them about the idea of using some of that in maintenance, and they were very happy. I didn't have anything specific, but they were very happy to communicate that with us and continue to work with us if so desired.
And on that note, with regard to Colt's idea, to get an engineering estimate, we need to identify the locations
Correct.
within that quadrant that are most in need of repair.
Correct.
Then let the engineer look at those. But one of the nuances that you and I discussed, and we'll just have to work this out, is there are roads in that, and I think you brought up Cloud, that may be in need of some repair, but they also may only carry like 20 cars a day. So we'll have to figure out how we want to factor that in to the analysis as well.
And you brought up, or you asked a question, do we just want to look at roads in that quadrant or the whole county? And I took it to mean, do we want to engineer years in advance or just today? But I understand after I left what you meant. That
Yeah.
Is there a road more in need that doesn't happen to be in that area? And I mean, my thoughts would be.
Right, and again, they're very open to whatever we throw in front of them. So it's just a matter of us making that determination, you deciding what you want us to do, and we can come up with those numbers.
I think what matters to me is just that we are all on the same page. I mean, I think one of the benefits to your plan, Cold, is it could effectively start a new rotation if we do it well. And I just want to make sure we've thought through, okay, if we want to get away from the quadrants, which may make sense, what does that look like and how are subsequent rotations going to look?
Right, and
which we can discuss.
we currently do have an asset management program that is looking at each quadrants, but it's only focuses on those within that specific quadrant that year. We could sure open that up to everything, so we're not so focused on individual. That wouldn't be an issue at all.
The only thing I would say is if we may need to get on that one ASAP. Like if we're going to apply for funding for this idea this year,
Right.
because Cook Flat's going to need to get us an estimate. We're going to need to get that grant written. So I think identifying which roads, if that's the direction we want to go.
And I think that's maybe point that needs flushed out just to make, like, so that we are all on the same point, same page, from Monday's conversation is this year, do we want to, you know, if we're selected to get that money, which is an if, but look at engineering, or most in need roads in the county are overlaying those, doing some significant reconstruction on the surface at least, or simply stay within that quadrant. I think if our dream, our big picture goal is to move away from chip sealing every road 5 years to overlaying every road 12, 15 years, something like that, this would be the first step.
Right, and Roy brought up Monday too, that, you know, that he's right in that area that he's talked about, that's, I really can't do anything there without an overlay. I can keep grinding.
Yeah.
But it would be one of them that I would put high up there if we wanted to get outside that quadrant, that would probably be something that we would look at. Or I would
I'm kind of
recommend.
conflicted. If, I like the idea of if it's, even if it's in that quadrant, if it doesn't need it, you know, why do it? But then when we do, let's just do the ones that are top priority, then I feel there's going to be some that are going to be completely left out, because they're never going to be top priority, even though they are. So I don't know.
I do think that would be an issue that you would have to, a burden you'd have to shoulder as a commission, is if you may get 1 mile that gets some work and 1 mile that's a neighbor that is not, and how that's going to look if we go that way. But if you could do it in sections and again, hit your most needed roads first, I do think it would pay off in the long run.
I think,
If you could shoulder that burden.
as long as, and it goes for any decision or anything we tackle here, as long as we've been able to explain how we came to a decision, data's great, especially if we can show how we came to a decision. It was not influenced by an invisible hand or, you know, an immoral reason. You know, there's a reason. Even if we don't agree, we can leave and understand. And that it's when those factors don't exist that we can't. So with our asset management program, we're able to show why we might select. And I understand, and you're right, because, but even the program we do now, think about just outside of town on 15th Street, Marshall Road, and then turn to the south, that area, it got really bad. But it didn't connect to anything. It didn't meet a lot of our policies. We did eventually overlay it and make it nice. So it never rose to the top, but we did stepped aside and said, you know, this is in poor condition. Same thing, some subdivision, one up around Wellsville. So when those things do rise, we're able to pull them out and still address them. I guess we've been able to navigate that so far. So
It would be more difficult to manage, but it would be manageable. We could do it.
we've done it now.
Right,
so we've
right.
Come up.
Transition, just a couple other things that I wanted to.
Transition, Jeff, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I want to get a little bit more feedback. Is there, we can, and there may not be a board desire, but we can submit more than one project, right? Is there any desire, and you guys pick, to go ahead, and this would have to come back in front of you, but engage Cook Flat to engineer one of the other projects, and Janet, veto me if but to get, if Colorado Road engineer, it's $47,000, to start walking that while we work on the other idea, so that if nothing else, we've got engineered plans ready on Colorado. We can afford it. I believe we can afford it. Continue to flesh out your idea, Colt. We wouldn't even have to submit both, I guess, but we would at least have some plans in the works for Colorado while we're working on.
That's a definite, I think.
I mean, that's a good project, because you're gonna save money in the long run.
Yes.
With the floods again.
Yeah, one thing about that project that I didn't bring up is when I spoke with Kenny and with Lonnie and discussed the opportunity to use asphalt rather than concrete, they were concerned about the toe wall and how that would flush out. So the numbers that Justin and I came up may not be completely accurate if we have to use concrete on part of that. So it's going to increase, of course, but I just wanted you to be aware that that was one thing that in our plans that they were worried about or had some concerns over.
And to be clear, Jeff, at this phase, we're just talking about getting Cook Flat going on engineering.
Correct.
So the expense of the project itself, I mean, yes, that will have to be accounted for, but for now, it's about getting a set of actual plans on a shelf.
Yeah.
And then if we decide to move forward, we have those plans.
Yeah.
So what I am hearing, and again, the decision to do it will be an agenda item that they will vote on, but if you want to tell Cook Flat, hey, the county is interested in moving forward on the Colorado Road design, we'll at least get that ball rolling. And then we can also, I say we, I think that's you and Justin and Rusty, and you can start brainstorming what roads need it most, what rotation would make sense. Again, you all we'll present it to you for your consideration and approval, but at least start brainstorming. If we were gonna start a new rotation, what would that look like? What would we prioritize? What would the first batch be? What would the second batch be? And then we can go from there.
Got it. Okay. I can definitely do that.
About bridges, we still need to talk about bridges sometime.
Always bridges.
For the different funding.
Yeah.
Do we want to vote on moving forward with the engineering? Like,
Do we have that as a voting item?
do you want to vote on that, the moving forward with the engineering, since they're going to spend money on that?
I assume we'll get an engagement letter from
Okay.
Cook
Okay.
Flat that we can then attach and, yeah, like an actual contract.
Okay.
On those spots that are, would we be doing like we did on the other part of Old Highway 50, enhancing them more than just putting on?
Yes.
Yeah.
On both projects that we've discussed, absolutely. It would be a regular 22 to 24, it'd be 24-foot road top. That road is around and a half now, so the structures have been already made for that width. It would be basically just improving the drainage that we would need to do, getting the top cut and then putting down the asphalt, which I did not
I
estimate.
was actually talking about, like, if we did like the quadrants, like when we spot, is that what you're looking at there, is to do a little bit more than just the chip and seal?
Well, it would be just on road conditions, and it would probably be more asphalted areas rather than versus chip seal, is what I'm envisioning.
My understanding of the plan, to be clear, is that we would use the chip seal money that we would otherwise be doing a quadrant of the county and putting it towards specific repairs, but real asphalt,
Right.
higher quality repairs. The goal being, and we've talked about this, and it's a good goal, getting away from chip seal and getting to a more sustainable, is that?
Yeah, that's absolutely. Once we get to where we're doing this annually, I think we could use about the same resources and have better roads.
Yeah.
Put that additional push to,
I don't know that you'll ever get completely away from chip seal, but I do
sure,
think
it's a tool to.
Sure, but I do think if you, on your higher traveled roads, on some of the locations that need more attention, we can make improvements. We can make those improvements is what I envision. So, yeah.
I agree. It's a tool. When you have good base, good shape, it
Right.
seals it up and puts a wear surface on it, but, okay.
Good, okay. The other thing I may touch on a little bit, Rod was talking about, are some of the bridges. On the Texas Road Bridge, Jess and I have been working to expand the right-of-way. We've got one more family coming in Friday. Hopefully, this will be the last one that we have to get, and then we'll start moving the utilities. The letting on that is in May of 2025, and we don't want to push that back. We still have the utilities to relocate, but I think that's not going to be a problem, especially if we can get them to sign this week. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the transfer station. There's been a lot of work out there. Peg was able to get somebody to come in and clean the scales, and it was a mess underneath it, but we are getting accurate readings on that. She just sent Derek some information about some doors that we want to replace on the building, so she'll be reaching out to you, and we'll want to get her on the agenda. And they have fixed the door and the damaged wall on the old building out there, so it's back up and enclosed for the winter, and doing some minor electrical work. The last thing I want to do is, again, Derek had said something about the ribbon cutting ceremony tomorrow at 2 at the county shop. I want to also give thanks again for our employees who did this work, to Bartlett West for their willingness to work with us on some changes that we made throughout the contract. I want to thank Killo for the work that they've done, and I believe most of them will be showing up there. And I want to thank Joanna, too. She did a great job of representing this thing and it's easy to make my guys look good. It's tough to make me look good, but she did both. So I want to thank her, too. So that's all I got.
Don?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. Some of us went to KAC of Wichita last week, Kansas Association of Counties, and they had 560 attendees registered for the deal, which I think was a pretty big number. They had 112 vendors, which give a lot of people to converse with and talk with and look at different kind of ideas. And the one went to a lot of digs, but the one I got the most I'm always looking for something. I have so many small communities in my territory. And I went to the one on the grants through the Rural Prosperity Department, State Commerce Department, and I got a book on that, and they offer a lot of things for small communities that a lot of them aren't going after or don't know what to go after. So I talked to Paul about it, and maybe in May, they've agreed to come here and put on a deal here that maybe we can invite in some of the other counties around us that are in part of it, economic development and some of the chambers, Main Street associations, and let them talk to somebody directly instead of just reading it out of a book. So they can ask direct questions, I guess. That's all I got.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, the KAC conference was really good. A lot of what you get from there is just networking with other people that are dealing with the same thing that you all are dealing with. On Friday, I had a fairly extensive meeting. Our Heartland Works Board is combining with another Works Board, which is actually going to make a very large board. There's some pros and cons to it, but they feel like we're going to be the big dogs in it, and hopefully, and it seems like the leadership is very well grounded, and they have committees set up already, and so hopefully it will be a good thing for the transition. It is still in the hands of the governor, I believe. They presented it to Commerce, and now the governor has to approve it, so it's not a completely done deal, but they're hoping by the first of the year to make that transition. Chamber Coffee on Friday at the Ottawa Library announced their new O-Town Reads for next year. It's a book called The War That Saved My Life. It's actually a juvenile historical fiction book. So it sounds like it's a pretty cool book. I kind of like that it's reaching out to juveniles, but it's also a good story for adults to read. Chamber board meeting yesterday morning. They have some new board members coming on. And then they had a chamber after hours last night at Memory Lane light display at Pleasant Ridge. And if you've never driven through there, it's kind of a cool thing to do with the family. And looking forward to tomorrow for the open house. We talked about that at the chamber yesterday, that we're having it out there because we're saying thank you to those guys that did yeoman's work to get that done on top of their regular duty. So that's all I got.
All right. Is there a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a legally privileged matter pursuant to the COMA exception allowing for privileged discussion between the board and its counselor for a period of how long?
Start with 20.
20 minutes with the board and counselor. Anyone else? Nope.
Motion.
Motion, is there a second? All right, by the time we get in there, it'll be 9:15, so we'll be out 9:35. All right. Well, we're back out of executive session. We need about 10 more minutes to finish up conversation. Look for a motion to enter back into executive session to discuss a legally privileged matter pursuant to the COMA exception allowing for privileged discussions between the board and its counselor for a period of 10 minutes with the counselor and the board.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, back out of executive session. No actions taken, no decisions made. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
I didn't realize.